What's good, bro? So today I'm gonna be making essentially a video based on what I think is Hamza's best advice. So if you don't know Hamza, he's a self-improvement YouTuber, and honestly a lot of the stuff that he put me onto definitely had a huge impact. I would say he's one of the people that catapulted my growth and changed my entire mindset about different things. And so as I grew on my self-improvement journey, I did start to listen to him less and less. And then his channel started just blowing up. I started listening to him probably when he was around like 100,000, 200,000 subscribers. I'd been in that like community when it was like pretty small, not as big as it is now. But obviously he blew up. He's at like 2 million subscribers now. But he's the one who put me on to fucking working out. Like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have started working out. So I actually bought his aesthetic body course. I'll just give you a little bit of background first. And that's actually what got me in the gym. He used the principles from Atomic Habits to create the habit. And honestly, it just fucking worked, and it clicked like that for me. And then once I was already going 7 days a week, it was a wrap. I started lifting, and I haven't looked back since. I've been lifting for a year. I used to be skinny. Now things have changed. But anyways, so what I think Hamza's best advice is this. I was watching a video today, and it was called What to Spend Your Money On as an Ambitious Man. And his advice was this. First, you need to develop the mindset. And the mindset is that you are worth much more than what your dollar is evaluated as. So if you work and they pay you $30 an hour, in reality, you should look at that and double it or triple it. Now you're worth 60 or 90 an hour in your mind. That's first thing, right? First you develop the mentality, the mindset, and then it becomes your reality. So he said first, that's the important thing, the mindset, right? And I thought that was good advice. I've heard him say that before. But then he went on in the video to say this is probably not, like, this is the unsexy answer is what he would say of what you're looking for, right? You don't want to hear this, but this is what it's going to be. He said, look, if you're an ambitious young man, you need to spend money to save time. Once he said that, the decision was made for me. I had already been thinking about it, and I even wrote down pros and cons, and here's the decision I was contemplating in my head, right? I was thinking like, yo, should I get an assistant to help me manage my work? And at first it seems like, it's probably not a good idea. You don't have that many accounts in the pipeline. First get more accounts, and then once you're swamped, get the assistant. But I was like, what if I flip that on its head? What if I say, I'm going to get the assistant to help me with my accounts, and then I'm going to force myself to produce? Because if I have an assistant, now I'm looking at myself in a different way. I have become a professional. I'm employing somebody. Not only am I employing somebody, I'm spending my money to save time. And it's not just time, it's mental resources. Here's the thing that we don't realize is that when you're doing small tasks that somebody else could do for you, in reality, it's costing you more than it seems. And I never realized that. Like my uncle, God bless his soul, he works so hard. He's working like at least 16-hour days sometimes. I swear to God, he's on the clock in the morning, and then before he goes to sleep, he's working all day, and then he's still taking phone calls. And I'm like, dude, you should get an assistant. And he's like, that would be a good idea. He has enough money to get an assistant. But in his mind, I don't know, the development. That's the thing, bro. When you're not developing to that point where you're looking at where you're going to be in the future, you're going to stay stuck where you are. I heard him say something. He was like, I look at myself as an employee. And that's not the mindset you want to have as a business person. I mean, God forgive me, I'm not where he is. I can't give him advice, but there's no person that owns and runs a successful business that is automated for them that says that I'm an employee of the business. There's just no way. It's like those restaurant owners that work 90-hour weeks, but they own the restaurant. It's like, no, you don't. You're an employee. So, I mean, of course, at some point, you got to put in that upfront effort, but then you should look to automate. And that's what they talk about in the 4-hour work week. So what happened was this, right? I found out through one of the guys I work with that he works with somebody to help him manage his accounts. So I'm like, interesting. So I reach out to him and I'm like, hey, bro. He's like, what's up? I'm like, you said you work with this and this person, right? He's like, yeah, I do. They really help me out. I think it's totally worth it. I was like, interesting. And so now I'm like, all right, well, the only concern is like, he said she doesn't accept everybody. And I'm like, okay, but if I have a referral from him, it helps. So he called her, the lady that helps people manage their accounts. And he's like, hey, this one guy wants to take your services on. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so I reach out to her, call her, talk to her on the phone. She tells me, gives me the rundown of what she does and how she helps people move their accounts forward and what her rate is. And I'm looking at the rate and I'm like, does this make sense for me? And so we talk on the phone, I'm talking with her, and she's like, yeah, so this is what I do, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, interesting, it all seems good, but I'm gonna need like a day or two to think about it. I'm just gonna put it all on paper and see if it makes sense for me still. And I told her I was like 90% there, but I just wanted to make sure that in my mind and on paper it made sense. So I used what's known as the Ben Franklin decision-making method, which is really just a list of pros and cons, right? So if you're faced with a decision that you have to make, you take a list, make the pros and cons, see if it pays off, if it's worth it. So I wrote out all the pros and cons. The cons were essentially that I would have to be more responsible. That's it. And then the pros were like at least 12 points. I was like, oh God, I can't not do this anymore. The pros definitely outweighed the cons. And another thing Hamza said in the video was that, look, people will try to tell you, oh, you shouldn't spend money on that. Oh, you should save your money. But I'm looking at the total cost. And even in a year, it's like $10,400 to have an assistant. How much am I gonna make because I have an assistant though? How are people gonna look at me differently? I come up to them and I tell them after we're done and after I'm signing them up, like, look, my assistant's gonna be reaching out to you. I'm super busy, but I'm gonna make sure I stay in contact with you and my assistant will help us move everything forward. So it's like, that's a different level. Like, now you know you're working with a professional. This guy has somebody under him. So I was like, come on, bro. Come on now. So my decision's been made. I'm definitely gonna be getting an assistant. And Hamza's advice was literally this, right? Spend money to save time. It's the reason why I buy courses and shit like that. I invest in I just came back from Florida. I invested in a trip to go to Florida. It was actually at this event that I went to Florida where they first mentioned the idea, like, look, you shouldn't be managing your own accounts. And I was like, huh? Like, if you're managing your accounts right now, get somebody to do it for you. The 80-20 rule, right? What pays you the most for your time? Is it managing those accounts or is it going out to find another deal? So, yeah, HAMZA'S best advice, the one that's helped me the most recently. There's a lot of stuff he said that really like changed my life. But now I'm at the place where I'm starting to, I guess, like self-actualize and become that person that I admire. And in this stage of my life, the best advice that I've gotten from him is spend money to save time. You can't get one of them back. The other one you can. Come on now. Peace.